Just as a review to the last game was really pretty much what we thought. For the most part, we had 3 turnovers when the game was still rolling pretty good. The last one was a little bit in a hurry situation. And then we had an additional turnover on the punt where we held, and they got the ball inside the 35 or 30. I'm not sure where they got it, but basically that's like another turnover. So you have 4 turnovers to their 1, so you're -3. And then we had multiple chances on 3rd and 5 to 6 to 12 to get off the field defensively, and we didn't. And then offensively, we were just a step away 5 or 6 times from a 5-yard run being a 15, 20, 25-yard run. And when you snowball all that together, that's kind of what happened to us. Obviously, they did a better job of coaching than we did because their kids executed their game plans better than ours. So in looking at the game, there's a lot of areas and a lot of mistakes we made that we can correct, which is good. And we'll work toward that. The players were, they were back last night and we practiced and attitude was good and all that. So we will have our hands full this week like each week. I think there's a tremendous amount of parity in our league. I really haven't seen anybody play, but I know that from here on out for us, each week will be a dogfight, like I said 2 weeks ago. So we got to have a great week of practice, and our coaches have to have great plans, and we have to take care of the football, and then we got to get off the field on 3rd downs to give ourselves the best chance to play well enough to win games. Tech is similar to what they have been. The quarterback throws the ball really, really well. They got tremendous skill, do a nice job of play calling and mixing it up. And I'm fairly certain that their defense is improved considerably. It looks like they really understand their schemes. They're tackling better. They're running to the ball. So from an outsider looking in, that's where you see the improvement that they're getting. And, going to Houston and winning on the road. And first time Houston's lost there in, 16 games. Beat Arizona State. Arizona State has got a really good offense, and they get really good quarterback play. So be a good game. We certainly need a lot of practice this week, and looking forward to getting back out there.
Looking at the film, how the 2 young offensive linemen grade out in their first
played okay. Certainly not like Larry and Crabtree. They played okay. We have to be a little careful in that what we ask them to do and then how we expect them to play. I mean, I don't think there's any other way to put it. You took 2 guys out of there who were basically 5th-year seniors. You put 2 guys in there that are freshmen. And so did they play like Larry and Zach? No. But did they play okay for where they're at in their career? Sure.
Mike, Larry missed a big chunk last year, maybe not as much as the NCAA rules dictate, and then he's obviously missing a chunk this year. Any chance you can apply for an extra year with him, or will you guys pursue that?
We will. There's criteria you have to meet, and oddly enough, as I read the rule, he may be a little off from the standpoint that you can be up to the 4th game. He was 3 1 year and 5 the other. And so I don't know how they'll see that. I would certainly think that there should be consideration for him because he's only got to play 8 games in 2 years. But obviously that's somebody else's decision to make.
Yeah, can they take the average, or have you looked into that?
I wouldn't even know where to start on that.
What had Tevin shown you over the last couple of years to get to this point in his career where you felt comfortable with putting him out there?
Well, we put him out there because he was the next guy.
What did he do to become the next guy?
Well, he's progressing along. Tevin's got skill, and what he's lacking is experience. Not as rough around the edges as the seniors, and that's really where those 2 guys are. It's new to them. It's a new world for them. But we like both of these guys, and I think that in a couple years we'll be talking about, hey, these guys are pretty good football players. But he's shown that he's got some ability to play it. He's just not to a point now to where you would feel as comfortable as a senior being in there.
Because when you were using Tevin, some just rotating him in occasionally, right guard, I guess, early.
In the first couple games, we were giving him some experience. We were trying to get several of those guys some work early to get them kind of get their feet wet and get them adjusted to playing.
Coach, what do you see from those third downs on the tape and what you can improve on against Tech?
It was similar to what it was in Tulsa. It was something different every play. One time they hit us on the screen, we didn't rally up. One time they hit us on a clear out and a deep out cut. It was something each play, and that's where we have to continue to work at it. And those are key downs that you've got to get off the field, because time of possession here doesn't mean much in our offense, but the first 3 and out we had on defense was in the fourth quarter, I think, with 8 minutes left. So, and we let them extend on third and medium to longs, which are generally a 33% down or less. We let them extend multiple times. And we didn't run the ball as effective in this game. So when you tie all that up, you really get crushed in the time of possession. And part of the reason for that was the question you asked, and the answer is it seemed like it was something different every time. We just got to get everybody on the same page.
I know you got to be careful what you say. Were you curious about going back and looking at the fumble down by the goal line?
No. There are some things that I went back and looked at, and I need to study more today, but I hadn't really gotten to that point yet to see what it was. I don't know what that rule is. I don't know how to interpret that rule to look at it and say right or wrong. I only know what you guys know, and that it looked like to me that worst case scenario, it was down on the 1. I mean, so I don't know. I don't know how they get to that. I don't know what communication goes on to say, no, he scored. I thought, on the headphones for us, we said, okay, they're either going to give it a fumble or they're going to say he's down. There wasn't possession for him to cross the goal line. But so it's hard for me to comment on that because I don't really get it. I don't know what they look at.
When you look at Texas Tech, watching the Houston game, and I looked at that yesterday, it almost looks like they changed a little bit their spread to almost become like a West Coast version of the spread. They're horizontal a lot, trying to break quick game and screen, and not as and it makes sense. Mahomes was a big arm. Do you see that as well? Not as much downfield, more side to side, and trying to get the speed and the receivers to break plays?
The concepts are similar, and I think they're form fitting them around who's the trigger guy, in my opinion. This guy throws it really good. Mahomes was special in his ability to throw it really long, really good. And so they could be building it around him more so. But you have to remember that those packages and the schemes that they run are based on defense and structure and safety level and things like that.
Looking at them defensively, it looks like they're more aggressive, that they're bringing some extra guys to the front, to the backfield to attack the quarterback. Is that kind of what you've seen early in watching?
Predominantly 3 down. Used to be a mixture. Basically 3 down, bringing some edge pressure. Couple guys on the edge rush pretty good. The big guy inside 1 is a good football player. He's making good plays for him. They're playing better, in my opinion, and I think they would like to pressure you more than what they have in past. Yes.
Gundy, what are the keys that you're looking for this week to let you know that your kids left the loss behind and that they're moving forward?
Oh, I think they have. I said this morning on my phone conferences, that the outside world takes wins and losses different than we do. You know, you guys have been in here with me for years, and that on Saturday, half the teams in the country lose. So half the teams in the country have to go back to work on Sunday and Monday and get over it. Or it's not fun the next week. We try to stay level-headed, even with the wins. People outside the program, you get big wins and they go crazy, and you know, we're making hotel reservations for this and that. When we know in our world, we have a body of work that we have to get accomplished every week. I hope that our guys understand that from the history of this program, and I think they do. And I'll go back to what I said again. I think you're going to see 8 weeks from now where people say there's a ton of parity in this league. There'll be a lot of battles in this league. It's going to be great for the fans and great for everybody. It's going to be hard on the coaches because there's a lot of teams that are riding the same boat. It's going to be based on the health of your team. It's going to be based on turnovers. It's going to be based on key special teams plays. And we're one of those that's right in the middle of that.
What are the key things that you're looking for this week? Is it body language? Is it hustle? Is it their approach every single day? But what are the things that you look at as the week goes through, as you go through your week, to know that your team is prepared to play?
Well, just their intensity in practice and their focus, which last week was excellent. So I don't know if I'm looking for the right tools. But last week, their intensity and individual and their focus in practice was awesome. And so that's the thing that we can hang our hat on. The only thing that we can ever ask is preparation and focus. Avoid distractions. Before the Pitt game, we had a ton of distractions. Before the last week, we didn't have any distractions. So people ask all the time, and there's certain things that we look for, and for me it's focus and is your intensity in practice is to try to get the very best, to try to play the very best you can. And then we want them to be in our building watching tape on their own. Those are really the things you look for. A lot of the other areas, you get sidetracked on necessarily how things are going to work out.
Teams try and defend you in the way that TCU kind of did on Saturdays. The only solution, you guys have to figure out how to run the ball more effectively.
We got to run the ball when they play a lot of high safeties and such. And there were a few downfield passes that we could have caught. We didn't. And there were a couple downfield passes that were overthrown. Could have been a difference in 14 points before the fourth quarter. That's the game. That's why we play it. And so there wasn't anything structure-wise that TCU did different in that game than they have any other year. That's the same stuff. We didn't convert on several downfield throws, and we didn't run the ball as effective. And when you tie that with the other things that I mentioned earlier, that's where it snowballs on us. That's what happens. That's the game. They'll probably be in the top 15 in the country now. So in comparison, if you're playing a team that you're better than, if I have better players than you, I can get away with all that because eventually the good players are going to make something happen. Okay, I mean, I gave you an example of Gonzaga and North Carolina, right? Isn't that who played in the championship game? I love Gonzaga, but Gonzaga, man for man, probably is not going to stand tall with them. So even though they played great, in the end, that team took them over, made the plays, won the game. Well, you can do that in that situation. But if the teams are somewhat equal, you can't make the critical errors and not make the big plays like we did to win those games.
Have you had a chance to watch Chris Carson on Sundays?
You know what? I haven't watched an NFL game. I haven't seen anything. I think maybe a couple weeks ago I watched somebody on a late Sunday night. Did he do good yesterday?
He scored his touchdown.
It's awesome, yeah. I hadn't even kept up with any of those guys. I hate that. But they'll get the information. My people get the information, give it to me, so I kind of know what's going on, but I didn't see anything.
It's kind of crazy to think he's a number one man in the NFL, and he was a backup in this program just this time last year.
We used him. He was always a good third down back for us, and then we'd rotate him in some. When Justice got hot in the latter part of the year, we went with him a little bit more on first down because he was more of a home run threat. Chris really improved even during last year. He was much better in Week 8 than he was in Week 2. That's why I think he'll be around the league for a long time. I think his best 4 or 5 years are ahead of him.
How much did you guys recruit Cameron Bassett when he was still having Miller?
We did not offer him, and I'm trying to remember, what year is he out there?
He's a senior.
Right, so it's been so long. I mean, it's hard for me to remember last year. We liked him. Thought he was a good player, but I don't think we offered him. I'm not for sure. I'd have to ask Dunn. I think we filled up early at that spot, best of my memory. But we liked him. He's a good player.
Justice got 25 carries the other day. I'm not sure if that's a career high or not, but it's more than he's had a lot of this year. Does that concern you? Do you need to see things in practice to kind of trust the other running backs a little more in a close game?
You would prefer him to get 20 or 18, like we talk about, but there's a difference in maturity. The other guy's a true freshman, and so where he's at in his career, it's awesome, but it's not the same with him being in there right now. A year from now, you would say, okay, I can give him 20, I can give him 12, and I feel pretty good about that. He's older, he's stronger, he's more mature, he sees defenses, sees protections, different things. So you just have to be a little careful, in our opinion, of giving freshmen too much work. Scott asked a question about Tevin. He's the next guy, and 72's the next guy at guard. In a perfect world, we don't put a freshman in. But we're not in that position now. So they got loaded up. We had the luxury at the running back position of not loading up a freshman. That's why.
I know it's an arbitrary number, but if you were to put a number on how many times you want your offense to snap the ball each game, where would that range be of how many snaps you
80.
want? 80?
Mm.
Is there a number that you want to keep the defensive snaps on the ball?
Well, you'd like it to be 65, but in the world we play, it's hard to control. I mean, we all the things that you guys talk about, we talk about, like, you had a 39-21 time of possession in this game, right? Well, that's not good. Even though time of possession doesn't matter for us, but the things that I said earlier made it not good. You turn the ball over, you can't get off on third and medium to third and long. You give them another one on a punt. So those extra 5 or 6 possessions lopsided the time of possession. Let's just say that we have 2 instead of those 5 possessions. Then the time of possession is going to be 29 to whatever. It's not going to be near as bad as it was. So defense couldn't get off the field on third downs. Big mistake on punt. Didn't run the ball as effective and turn the ball over. All that tied into terrible time of possession. Defense is on the field too much. Gave them too many opportunities.
If you guys are scoring fast and playing fast, time of possession is no big deal. But when you're not, do you sense like an anxiety for the offense if they're on the sideline, the other team's controlling the ball?
Well, what's funny, John, is I get some anxiety because you want to go out there and like, come on, let's do one thing. Coach Leach. He used to be in an all-blitz defense because he said, I don't care if they score or not, I just want back on the field. You remember his first few years? That's what he did. He wanted back on the field. So you kind of feel that way at times where you're like, I just want to get back on the field. But, you certainly don't, we don't live in that world. But there is some truth to, because we play so fast, we're wanting to get back on the field. And I was on the radio this morning with Neuheisel, and he's a former play caller and all that, and he asked the same question y'all do. And I said, Rick, fast offenses are only fun when you're scoring. They're not any fun when you're not scoring because defense is on the field the entire game. And so, when you lose a game that you feel like you could have won if you played better, but TCU. Certainly, we didn't give them the game. We made some mistakes, but they played well enough to win. And so you don't sell the farm and change what you're doing like a lot of people would like. You make minor corrections that are actually feasible to manage within a 2 to 3 day period to get ready to play again. And we play some young players. We try to coach them up and get them ready, and you go play again. And that's really what you do. You don't have any other options in that scenario, and that's what we'll do.
They seem to play really fast and tackle well on defense. Is this maybe a more representative Gary Patterson defense?
Late in the year when we played them, last year, in comparison, we were pretty good. We had really gotten established at who we were with Veach and Jarwin and Carson, and Justice and the world he lived in, and then with the wideouts. And they were beat up a little bit late in the year defensively, and they weren't at the strength that they normally are. But I say this, each year, they do a really good job of running to the ball and tackling. They play with a lot of speed, and they play in a certain world. And if it's working with them and in their schemes, it's usually working really good. If there's times it's not working, it's usually not working very good. It's a lot like our offense. And for them Saturday, more times than not, it was working, and things kind of fell in their favor. I watched at the end of the game when we had a chance to. It was really a game, and we punted, and the ball landed on the 14, and it rolled, and it went all the way in the end zone. I was sitting there thinking, man, I don't know what I did this week. I can't get a break. Most of those balls are going to stop and die on the 6 or 7 or 8, and that thing just rolled and rolled and rolled. And it was just kind of that day. That's the way it was. I don't know what to say. Some of it was self-inflicted. TCU was a big factor in some of it, and then sometimes couldn't get the dang ball to bounce where we wanted it to.
If defenses continue to play their safety back, is there a certain point where you just kind of say we've got to still, try to take the top off, and like you guys did with that one touchdown pass to James?
Yeah, you can take the top off a little bit, but not much. They're so far back. You just play the laws of just play. I tell our guys it's geometry. If they're going to play that far back, my quarterback throws the ball at 6.5 yards. The ball has to travel in the air 55 yards, and they're already sitting back there at 35. Can I get the ball from there over them at 55 yards before that guy can travel 20 yards and knock it away? Probably not. So if people choose to do that, you're in more of a run game mode. And we ran the ball decent at times, but we were a step away from making it much better. And you have to credit TCU for that.
After the game, Patterson said they ran more coverages than he could remember.
Mm-hmm.
So it may not be just as simple for every team to drop guys back. Is that accurate?
Yeah, he didn't run that many coverages. So Gary's a good friend of mine, but, guys got to market themselves. You know what I'm saying? Most of what they did is what they've done, okay? They had one coverage where they would show a certain look, and the safety to the field would funnel really high. The inside third guy would funnel, and the number 2 guy would kind of sit, and they vacated. That was a little bit of a change-up. Everything else they did is what they've done. They just did it better than we did it. Good football coach, but there's nothing wrong with marketing yourself.
Anything else for Coach?
Good. All right.